This sounds a great model. I mean, what in the future, what do you think are the further opportunities that lie in adopting this approach? And what are the sort of key barriers that you've kind of identified so far within this approach that you've been developing?
Well, I'd say we're still in the early stages. I think there's a lot more that will come out that actually we probably don't even see today. We are evolving. It's a bit like the early days of frameworks in the 90s when customers took the leap of faith, read the books and said, we ought to be partnering with our main contractors. We're sort of at that same time, 10 years later, saying it's our leap of faith to do this process, and we will generate things out of this that we probably can't even see today.
Yes, we can't anticipate what those opportunities might be.
And I think it's going to centre around, in some respects, off-site production, fabrication. It will look at those opportunities where normally it's too late, the design has got too far, the process has got too far, and everyone's saying, shame, we could have done that as an off-site, but there isn't time to do it, or there isn't enough repeat. So if we're getting people in early enough, we're actually identifying some of those opportunities and maybe changing the whole way that construction is undertaken. I'm amazed. I look at some of the residential buildings that are going up in the city centres today, and they are, you can see them as the frame goes up. You can see the pod already sitting inside the building. You can see the pack of plasterboard, studs, all pre-wrapped, sat on a pallet. They're ready, so all the materials are in the right place. You can see all the preloading of heating and ventilating systems. And this is when the building is still open and it's going up. So there's people out there doing this sort of stuff and getting those sort of benefits. I think we're just a part of that same.
So off-site manufacture is probably
I can see that
a logical extension of the direction we should go.
And off-site manufacture doesn't have to be a completely finished bathroom.
Sure.
It can just be a door set. It can be just a different way of bringing a number of traditional products together. That means you just have less cutting and less workmanship issues.
I guess it's getting that optimum level of off-site manufacturing.
Yes. If you're building 200 of the same thing, it's worth investing a lot of time in trying to get the refinements and upfront. Very much more like a production line approach, how people in the car industry might see things. But if you're only building 5 of something, how much time do you spend before actually it's just more economic to just get on and build it on site? So.
On the barriers front, I mean, there is some evidence that maybe some clients are moving away from more collaborative approaches back to more traditional procurement and so on.
Yes.
Do you see some barriers that are going to need to be overcome in the future?
Yes, as the market hardens, and it clearly is hardening, residential work is virtually dried up, and you can see some of the traditional elements in the industry coming back saying, well, let's just go for single stage, lowest price, put all the risk onto the main contractor, ring fence for the customer, a building that they say is defined, designed, ready to go, and we can see 2-stage becoming less common as a consequence of that market hardening.
But do you think there's enough sort of critical mass in terms of downstream review in the supply chain that you're still going to maintain that more collaborative approach that you're adopting with your supply chain? I
think we have to, because one of the consequences of the way that market is hardening is that actually customers are spending less money up front on the design because they can afford to, and they're a bit more risk averse, so they want to actually get to site with the least capital outlay before construction starts. So we're getting incomplete design. We're getting design where architecture, structure and the services, they've never really been integrated. They're 3 separate bits of design that don't even tie up. Basics like grids don't tie up, and walls aren't in the same place, and steel columns are going right through. So
there are lots of issues to be resolved, and main contractors need to work with the specialists to resolve those issues.
Because if you wait to procure things traditionally, you don't have enough people in the room to solve the problems that you've got.
Yes.
And we end up sometimes with a buying decision, which is frustrating everybody else. We haven't procured the curtain walling contractor, so the structural engineer doesn't know what bracketry he's going to have to adapt. The architect doesn't know exactly how to tie in the details. The new change in the Part L regulations means we can't do our thermal calculations. We don't know how much heat's going to be lost or gained. There's so many things that are then held up on the design side because we haven't actually said which curtain walling system we're going to use. So you have to actually be more collaborative with your supply chain to allow you to do the thermal models, do all those things in the shorter period of time that you're now given, because customers are saying contractors are hungry, we can be a bit harder on them in terms of lead in and time to site.
Okay, Andrew. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time, and maybe we can talk again in 4 or 5 years' time when we see how the industry's panned out.
Yes. Pleasure. Thanks so much, Martyn.
Thank you.